Now on the champion Nuggets, we give credit to Calvin Booth for adding on the necessary complementary pieces around Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. They did acquire Aaron Gordon last year, big move. I thought, or 2 years ago, last year's offseason pickups of KCP and Bruce Brown certainly took them over the hump. But they've got a big decision to make with Bruce Brown now because, according to Bruce Brown, he didn't have many suitors in the offseason last year. He signed the 1+1 with Denver at $6 million per year, player option on the second year. They've got a big decision to make there with Bruce Brown. How do you think that plays out?
Yeah, normally what we're all thinking is this is just going to be Bruce Brown opts out and then he's going to sign somewhere else, right? Because the Nuggets are so limited in what they can pay him. He made 6.8 million or so this year. The most they can offer him is 7.8 million going into next season. So what we're all kind of working under the assumption is, all right, well, he'll opt out. He'll go sign for at a minimum the non-taxpayer mid-level somewhere. That's going to be about 12.2 million in first year salary, if not even more from one of these cap space teams that says, hey, we'll give him 15, 16 million and we'll roll forward. But then now we got to take some of the emotion right into account here. But right after the finals, he says, I want to stay, right? I want to stay in Denver. And there's definitely emotion involved there. But what we could see is a Bobby Portis type situation, which is what happened with the Bucks, which was opt out, re-sign for the minor bump in pay. Then a year later, the team will have early bird rights, and then they can really bump his salary up into a much more kind of reasonable range for the player he is. If he really is committed, I want to be in Denver, he could be back there for, like I said, 7.8 million, and they roll forward, and then, kind of wink, wink, we'll take care of you down the line sort of deal. Or he may say, yeah, in the end, I could get twice that in first year salary. I'm headed off to one of these cap space teams or something like that.
Now, Keith, with like one of those cap space teams that would double his salary, right? How would that impact them building a team wise? Because what has been discussed throughout the entire league is that you're going to have two guys on big contracts, and then it will be difficult to build out a well-rounded team. So for someone like Bruce Brown, who's thinking about that, does that mean he's going to a team like the Spurs then, who doesn't really have that much talent, and you're trying to compete there? Or does he still have to take less for money if he wants to compete on another team?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of options, right? Which is a good thing. He could go to the Spurs or the Magic or the Thunder, a team like, the Thunder, probably they've got a million wings and guards. So, but, just throwing the cap space teams out there. He could even say, hey, Houston, if you're chasing James Harden, I'll come in and take what's left over, and I'll be, come in and play a big role for you. So those are all options for him, or any of the teams that are good but not super expensive yet that could use another wing. And let's be realistic, just about everybody could use a Bruce Brown type player because he can start, he can obviously excel coming off the bench for you. So if you're a team like that, you could offer him your non-taxpayer mid-level at 12.2 in starting salary and say, hey, come in here, and you're going, and that's not quite double, but that's a good chunk more money than what he could get from the Nuggets. So those are going to be the things he's weighing, right? Because the cap space teams they're not the good teams this year. Every once in a while we hit a summer, right, where there's, man, that team's really good and they have a ton of cap space. And generally that's because they had a bunch of young guys on value contracts pop. We're not really there. Probably the two teams that are the Rockets are in such a weird spot because they can do a ton of different things with roughly 60 million in cap space.
60 mil, yeah.
But the teams that are kind of, on the forefront of this are Orlando, Oklahoma City, and San Antonio. If you're a believer in Wembanyama is going to lift you right away, well, then San Antonio is a major player with, 30 plus million in space. If you're a believer in the Magic's young guys are going to get better and they just need a veteran or two, they become a player. Same thing with Oklahoma City. I love for Oklahoma City the idea of you've got basically a pretty full roster, but you've got 30 million in space. So if we think back, remember when the Philadelphia 76ers were like, it's time to start winning games here.
Yeah.
And they went out and paid JJ Redick like $19 million. And everybody's like, what in the world? Right. $19 million. What are we doing? Well, it was because they signed him to a 1-year deal at the time. So it was, hey, you can pay a guy just about anything. on a 1-year deal, and it's never really going to hurt you, right? Because it's a
Mhm.
1-year deal. So that's what I like a team. If the Thunder decide, you know what, hey, we like player X, let's go spend a ton of money on that player and let's move things forward. It really, we were playing team. We could maybe make the playoffs next year. Let's go. Let's do that. They could do a move like that. So that's where, for a guy like Bruce Brown, he's got those options from those good teams, and he's got those options from those handful of cap space teams that look like they're ready to start moving things in a more forward direction as far as winning games.